Hey friends, today's video is a mid-year check-in. How's our homeschool year going? Especially with my 4th grade twin boys. Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Stacey. I'm so glad to have you here. I'm excited to share today's video. If you enjoy homeschool stuff and curriculum and geeking out on homeschool stuff and just talking about it, please give a thumbs up down below and subscribe to my channel because I love talking about that kind of stuff too. I'm very passionate about all things homeschool. Today I'm going to be sharing about my 4th grade twin boys and how the year is going with them. They are 9 years old and they are your typical boys. They have lots of energy, short attention spans, and love competition and playing and action, but they also love stories and reading and connecting and bonding and making memories, and they're really precious, sweet boys. So what I'm going to do for my 4th grade twin boys is kind of go through their day and yeah, just talk about how it's going, show you guys the different books. So we started out with morning menus that are like the type if you go to a restaurant and have multiple pages inside, and we had a to-do list on the front cover, and they used a dry erase marker and mark off as they got it done. But they were writing really hard and erasing really hard, and the plastic actually started like scratching and almost like coming off, bubbling kind of. So we put those on the shelf for now, and I just got these like sleeves and started using these since they are so hard on it. So I have a to-do list in here, and it includes things like brushing their teeth and helping with breakfast, making their bed, stuff like that. And then also their schoolwork, and then it also has things they have to do in the afternoon. So there is one for each of them. On the back we have their multiplication chart, and this goes with the Good and Beautiful math. So I'll talk more about that in a minute. So it really helps them to get up in the morning and to know what needs to be done instead of coming and asking me, Mom, what's next? What's next? It also, my one son is very motivated by a checklist. He will get up in the morning, before breakfast even, he'll come in our schoolroom here and start working on his stuff and try to knock out all his independent stuff. And I really, really appreciate that. My other son is not so much that way. However, he's very competitive, and he does not want his brother to get ahead of him. And so he will come in here and do also simply because of the competition. He doesn't want to be behind. So some of the things that they do in the morning is I have this little devotional for them, VeggieTales, Growing with God, 365 daily devotions for boys. And it has really, they each have their own little sticker up here. One's favorite color is blue and one's favorite color is green, and then they can keep track of. So yeah, they are on day 57. And keep on keeping on. So they read this themselves, and then later on I'll sometimes ask them like, what was your devotions about today? And I'll be honest, some days they can't tell me. They read it, but they forget already. But other days they remember and can tell me, or one will remember and not the other one. But yeah, and then they also have flashcards. I keep changing the stack of flashcards depending what I'm noticing they're getting wrong in their math and what they're getting right. We had the 12 family in here, and recently I just took that out because they did so good. They had actually a quiz in their Good and Beautiful math to see if they had it mastered or not, and they both had them all mastered, the whole 12 family. We used musical multiplication. There's sets A through D, and listen to those songs, and that has really helped them to memorize it. And then also just lots of repetition with flashcards and in their math and stuff. So anyway, right now they just have a really thin stack. The rest of multiplication they have memorized, so I'm really thankful about that. I do rotate the other ones back in just to help it keep fresh on their mind, but these are the ones that, the only few that they don't have solidly memorized. So they're doing really good with that. So usually one will work on this while the other one does that, and then they'll switch. And then they also have their handwriting that they can mix in there if they're waiting on each other. But yeah, we're doing the Good and Beautiful handwriting, level 4. Zeke is way ahead in his. He likes handwriting. He likes how at the bottom of each page they have little activities like a maze or something they have to draw or color. And he is ahead in his. So I do have to check their handwriting. It's not something I just let them do completely independently. Like they do it themselves, then I'll come back and check it later. Because sometimes when they're supposed to be writing cursive, they'll write in print. Writing in cursive is still a little hard for them. They have to like use the chart. We ripped out these charts so they could lay it beside them on the table and look at this and remember how to write the different letters. But yeah, it's hard for them. I wouldn't say that they love writing in cursive, but they're getting it. And I especially emphasize them being able to write their name without looking in cursive. That's my like goal for this school year. I want them to be able to do that. We're not there yet. They still have to look, but they're getting better. They're getting more comfortable at it. And they'll ask me like, why do we have to learn cursive? Why do we have to learn cursive? So I try to tell them real life examples of when you need to use cursive to be able to write it and when you need to be able to read it and stuff like that. So yeah. And then I have 2 more independent things here. This is Explode the Code 5. we're just starting this one. So the first half of the school year, we were not doing Explode the Code, but I'm going to start it now, and we're going to work on this the second half of the school year. And then word ladders. This one is like you start with one word down here, and then you have to use the hints and take away or add one letter and work up to the top. And so this is a little bit hard for them. So what I do in the way back, they give the answers. So I'll just write the words on our whiteboard, and they can use that as kind of like multiple choice along with the hints that it gives them. Now we are not very far into this book. I would say we started maybe a month or two ago. So this may last us in the next school year. It is a little bit hard. It is for grades 4 through 6. So it is just fine if it lasts us in the next school year. But we maybe do this 2 to 3 times a week. I'll tell them usually like the night before, like, hey, tomorrow morning when you wake up, you can skip your handwriting and instead do word ladders. And I'll write the words on the whiteboard because they like to come in here and work on it while I'm making breakfast. And so that way it's all ready for them. And then we gave this to them for Christmas. I had picked this up in the States when we were there this past summer, thinking of them. I think I showed this in my curriculum haul of what I was going to be using for this coming year. But we're doing this with Zeke. Zadok did not want me to copy it for him. He is not big into writing. So this is Zeke's. It's between mom and me. It's a keepsake journal, and it's really sweet. It's like mom fills out one side, he fills out one side. Some of it is drawing, some of it's writing, some of it's, I don't know, it's all different creative ideas. And we got this off Amazon if you're wanting a copy like this. But yeah, we just started it because we just got it at Christmas, but he was really excited about it. And then this is for Zadok. He will get just a blank piece of paper and draw comics on it. And so we gave this to him at Christmas thinking that he would enjoy this. Now he has not started it yet. I need to sit down with him and help him get started on it, help him read through all this and understand how it works. And there they give some examples. But I think he will really love it if I would sit down with him and help him to get started on understand how it works. So yeah. And now that's kind of like their independent stuff. I will check in on it, give them feedback, but they mostly do it themselves. The other thing they do in the morning is spelling words. You can't quite see it, it's just off the camera here, but I have a whiteboard and I write the Good and Beautiful spelling words up there, and each day they're just supposed to practice writing it. And then every so often the Good and Beautiful prompts us to kind of quiz them on the words, and if they can write it without messing up, I will erase off the whiteboard. They can stop practicing it. And so there's 4 units, so there's 4 sets of words with the Good and the Beautiful. So they're practicing one set of words for quite a while. Okay, so normally after they're done with their independent stuff, then I come in and I do kind of like Bible with them. This is after breakfast. They have to help with cleanup with breakfast and stuff. And then I'll come in and do Bible with my twins is my main focus, but if my other 2 little boys want to come in, also my kindergartner and preschooler, they can, but it's not 100% required for them. So let me show you guys what I use for that. Okay, so my camera battery died and I had to go charge it, and I'm not quite sure exactly what I was saying when I let off, but I will start with like our Bible, our morning time. We are doing Sunlight Core D, and this has Bible included in it. So I loosely follow this and add a couple things to it. So the one thing that's Sunlight, so I have my morning basket here. And so this is kind of our resources in it. And it also has like our history and science in here. I had to keep basically our Sunlight books in here that I'm doing with Core D, and then plus a few other things. Anyway, with Sunlight Core D, they have you reading as the parent, reading through talking with your kids about God. 30 conversations every Christian parent must have. And you can read this aloud to your child, or you can read it ahead of time and then do like the questions and discussion with your child and discuss it with them throughout the week. So I normally read this ahead of time. I think in the instructor's guide they do say you could read it aloud to your child. I normally read it ahead of time and then just discuss with them and talk about it with them. And so that is that. Then in the Sunlight, they have a suggested reading straight from the Bible. I'll be honest with you, we often end up not doing that. I wish we would be doing it every day, but my husband, he is reading with the children through the Bible in our family devotions that we do every evening at the end of the day. And so I kind of, sometimes if our school day is looking busy and full, that is something I'll skip because I know they get in the evening, but it is something I'd really like to do, and I need to try to do that more often. Then the next thing is we have the American Indian Prayer Guide. So this goes through many different tribes in America of the different Native Americans, and so it tells you a little bit of information about them, and then it has a prayer. It's not a whole lot of reading per day. So like here example is day 4, and yeah. So this is for the 5-day schedule, and I'm just doing the 4-day. So often on Thursdays, I believe it is, has you double up and read 2 pages in here. So that is that. Okay, and then something that I am adding for Bible is the Little Pilgrim's Progress. Now the cover I took off of this to help protect it. It's up on my bookshelf, but this has beautiful paintings in it. This is by Taylor Sutphin. I'm not exactly sure how to say your name, sorry. But I do follow him on Instagram, and occasionally he'll have like printables you can print off for your child to color, or like how to draw, step-by-step things, how to draw. Some of the stuff you can purchase from him. Yesterday we read this, and this is, yeah, it just basically is talking about following like the narrow path, the good path to heaven, and not following the wide, easy path to hell. And these two little rabbits, or one little rabbit is trying to get to heaven, and he has different friends that join him along the way. Sorry, there is noise and construction going on outside. I don't know if you guys can hear that. But anyway, and then he runs into all kinds of giants and different things like that that try to attack him or lock him up and stuff like that. So it's really good. It leads to a lot of good discussions. The chapters are nice and short and sweet. And my 3 oldest boys, really my 9-year-old twins and my 6-year-old can really understand this. The 4-year-old not so much, but for the others it's really good. And we are probably about halfway through this, so that's going good. Occasionally I'll read 2 chapters. Boys will say, don't stop reading, read one more. So they really enjoy this one. I enjoy it too. I think it's done really, really well. This is something I have done on and off for the past several years. This is catechism questions, and this is one from our church in the States, home church, that they had put out a long time ago. But I have it laminated, and for a while we go through it, for a while we stop, for a while we go through it. Recently I pulled it out again, and I want to go through it again, but it has questions like, who is God? What is God like? Where is God? Can you see God? And then it has the answer. And the idea is that the children can memorize it. So what I'll do is we will work on one, so they have it memorized, and then review that one and add one more, review that one and add one more. Eventually, once there's a bunch, I will only pick out 1 or 2 to ask them out and review, and then go over the new one. But I have several pages of it here. So yeah. So this is Character Matters, Everyday Moments, Teachable Truths from September & Co. So what it is, it'll have something like this where it says gratefulness, and then it goes down through. So for example, right underneath gratefulness, it'll say, thanking God for what he has given to me, and the opposite is unthankfulness. How can I be more grateful? And then I can. And the first 2 suggestions are more for younger children, and the next 2 are a little bit more for older children. Use good manners, not complain about things I don't have, appreciate people around me, say thank you for things I'm given. And then at the bottom it has a Bible verse, 1 Corinthians 4:7. And so yeah, what we'll do is I'll go back through some of the words that we already learned, and like these here, and ask them, what does this mean? What does that mean? And then we'll read one new word. We don't do this every day, maybe 2 to 3 times a week. And we are just working our way through this set. With Sunlight, we also have a Bible memory verse for each week, and I have that over here on my memory board. I'll insert a clip of that. I have it under scripture here, and I printed out 4 or 5 weeks worth at a time, and then we check mark them off as they have them memorized. We try to say the verse on Friday, work on it all week and say it on Friday. We're not currently working on poetry, and then the music is just something I added. I try to teach them 1 hymn a month. This one is Come Christian Join to Sing. Sometimes we'll follow the Hymn of the Month YouTube channel, and she sings a song. It's a homeschool mom. She sings the song with her children, and then that way you can play the song and sing with them, so it doesn't feel like you're singing a solo as you try to teach your children. Right now we're not following it. This is one that I just wanted to be able to sing and have my children learn. She also has free printables where they can trace the words, like handwriting pages, and yeah, so it's a great resource to check out. Okay, so this is my Sunlight working binder. I put 3 weeks worth in here or so at a time, and the rest is over in the big binder on the shelf. But we're week 17, so we are not quite halfway. So we would, I don't know, you could say a little bit behind in our Sunlight, but we were traveling and didn't get our school year started when normal public schools start, at least in the States, but it doesn't matter, it's fine. We are almost halfway through, and I am really happy about that. So we're on week 17. So yeah, we did the Bible portion already. We sang, and we did the Bible memory, we prayed. So the next thing is the history portion. So you can see right over here, it's history and geography. So we read from the American History of Visual Encyclopedia, and also from the Landmark History of. This is one of the resources that we use for our history. This here is another resource that we are currently using, the American History, Beginner's American History. I really like this one. The way it is written is really interesting. At least when it talks about individual people. Now, maybe not the war so much, but the individual people like Daniel Boone and George Washington, when it talks about them, it is actually quite interesting, and we enjoy learning about those people. quite a few different spines that they have you reading from for the history. You don't read from each one of these every day, usually just one of them per day, but it'll switch throughout the week. This is a Smithsonian DK American History. It's a visual encyclopedia. So this has beautiful pictures in it and paintings and illustrations. And they say, one thing I appreciate is they say when it is just someone's like imagination, like this front cover was how this person imagined that it looked. In reality, it wasn't like this, and they'll say like what parts, you know, weren't like that. So I appreciate that because it helps the children be aware because they don't know. In the instruction guide on the back, then it will have discussion questions or things to point out to your children in the Sunlight here. So I appreciate that. We have the lap book kit. And let me show that. So to go along with our history, we have the lap book kit. This is the box, it's 30 bucks it comes. This is the instruction guide that comes inside of it. And then this here is the lap book that we are working on making together, American History Year 1. And so it prompts you in the Sunlight Instructor's Guide when to add stuff in here. But we have all kinds of pockets and things. This is different explorers that you go through and fill out the information for them. And this lifts up, and there is navigation tools that they use. Can you see that up there? When ships are going out exploring and finding their way to sea. This here is where in the world, all kinds of different maps that we learned about, all different things. And this is like the Declaration of Independence, stuff like that. Native story bag. So there is different famous Native Americans in here, and on the back of each little card, it will talk about them, who they were. I don't know if you can see that. Here's Sacagawea and Squanto, and there's a few others in that pocket. So yeah, there is still blank spots on here that we don't have it all filled up, but it will be till the end of the year. So in this kit, it comes with all the papers and like double-sided sticky tape and glue, scissors, though I think the scissors are my own, but the glue sticks and the glue and the cotton ball and just all the things you need to complete the lap book. This has been a really great addition for our history curriculum. We don't work on that every day. There's usually one project a week, and so we'll work on it sometimes on Saturdays. It depends how the week goes. Okay, next of all, in our Sunlight thing here, we have our read aloud time and our readers. And again, I keep all that stuff just in here in my morning basket. Thank you again to my mother-in-law for this morning basket. We use this every day. So the read aloud that we are doing right now is Johnny Treeman, and this has been a good book. Even my 6-year-old enjoys this book. Sometimes it can be a little hard to understand. Some of the vocab is kind of old English, but it's okay. I just stop and explain it, and then we keep on reading. So we're not quite halfway through this book, but it is a big book. And then the reader that they're doing right now is, I'm not sure how you say it, but Om Casto. And I read this book as a girl and I loved it. This one, I think, did another one in the series. And so I'm so excited that Sunlight required it this year. And this is the book the boys are reading. So sometimes the chapters are a little long and I will read like every other page with them. It's not something I hand to them and walk away. And they read one page, I read one page, and we split it up that way between the 3 of us. So yeah. So as far as like our readers, this here is our stack of books that we have read so far this year with Sunlight. These are the read alouds and the readers. So we have really enjoyed these books so far. There's a couple of them that we've created really good memories reading together. Some of them we enjoyed more than others, and some my twins enjoyed more, some I enjoyed more. So yeah, quite the stack. Whoops, I had an extra book in there. I just realized this goes with their language arts. It's not actually part of Sunlight, but we did read this one. I'll be getting into language arts here in just a minute. Okay, the last thing with Sunlight, usually each year they have a poetry book they go through. This year we are going through A Child's Introduction to Poetry. I was so excited when I saw that we were gonna be doing this book this year. I've been wanting to do it for a long time. We are about halfway through it. I will say it hasn't been our favorite poetry book. It doesn't get the boys' attention like some poetry books have in the past, but it's okay. It introduces them to many different types of poetry, and you will usually talk about the author some. And then they also have a website you can go to, and they will read the poem for you, and they usually will have like music or sound effects to go with it. So that's always really fun. This was fun, Paul Revere's Ride, because we were studying that in history, so they could make that connection. I like that it introduces them to some poetry greats, as they call it. This here is from the Iliad, Homer, and this is Macbeth. So some of the poems in here we enjoyed more than others, and again, I just like that it teaches them the different types of poetry and some about the author and the different time periods of poetry and stuff like that. Okay, and the last bit with Sunlight is the science. Now this we usually wait and do after lunch. So we'll do our Bible and history and read aloud, and then their math and language arts, and then wait and do this after lunch. But since we're doing Sunlight and have the stack of books here, I'm gonna go ahead and discuss this. We're doing Sunlight Science D, and I have the big kit here that it comes with. These are the books that we are currently using. It comes with more than just this for the science, but this is the mid-year update. So these are the ones we're currently using or have used. This is Planet Earth. This is what we're currently doing, and it has big, beautiful pictures. Usually we read like 4 pages, like 2-page spread, two pages spread. And then in the instructor's guide, it has questions and discussion things. 3 days a week we read out of here, and then 1 day a week we usually do a science experiment is kind of how it's set up. So this is the science experiment book. It is a hefty book. It is big and fat. And this week we will be doing this one here. Can you turn rocks into soil? So this, my boys love the science experiments. The one thing I have learned is that I need to read this ahead of time because it is a lot of writing. And if I try to read it aloud to them, I lose them pretty quick and they're off doing something completely different. So I'll read it ahead of time, summarize, and then we'll go through the steps together and complete the experiment. Most of the time the experiment works. However, there is a time or two that the experiment has not worked, and I kind of have wished that I would have purchased the videos that go with this so we could watch the video to see how it's supposed to work. But I don't know, maybe I'll do that next year, we'll see. These are 2 books that we already did this school year. This was mostly about animals and like how they protect and how they attack and how they defend predators, stuff like that. Who's the biggest, who's the strongest, who's the fastest, poison, stuff like that. So my boys found that extremely interesting and they loved this book. And then we often would go look up YouTube videos to go with it to see these animals in real life doing these things. And then this was a coding book. It's really thin. My husband is big into computers and stuff, and so he was really happy that Sunlight included this in their science. The boys loved this. They created little games, and we used Scratch. They created little games and stuff, and it was just enough to whet their appetite. And then we went to YouTube and found the Scratch YouTube channel, and they created quite a few more, slightly more complex games with that. So this was a big hit. I wish it would have been like 2 or 3 times as big. My boys loved it, and we as parents were proud of them to be learning this skill. So that is Sunlight Science. I would say is a hit, except for the experiments. The wording is a bit long, and then 1 or 2 of the experiments didn't work, and I kind of wish I would got the video, but otherwise it has been a success. So all of that there, the Sunlight stuff, the read alouds, the literature based stuff is really fun. Me and my boys really enjoy it, and it's easy to do. Our math and language arts it's okay too, but I wouldn't necessarily call it fun, but yeah. For language arts, we are using the Good and the Beautiful level 3. When my twins were in kindergarten, we ended up really struggling. They had some learning disabilities or challenges, or just needed, maybe it was the old version, I don't know, of the Good and the Beautiful. But anyway, we ended up taking 2 years to get through it. Went to CLE, their Learning to Read program, and did 1 year of that, and then came back to the Good and the Beautiful. And that worked great. But now that the Good and the Beautiful has updated their level K, I think it's a lot better now that I'm doing it with my second son, my third son really. Anyways, so they are behind in the language arts, but learning to read has been a challenge, especially for my one twin, and it still is a little bit of a challenge. So it is a good spot for them. My other twin will be ready to move ahead, and he is really motivated. He wants to get caught up and be on level 4 because they're in grade 4. So he is currently doing 2 language arts lessons a day. And my other son, just because he doesn't want to be left behind, is doing it also. Now, I'm not sure how that's going to all work out, if it's going to get too hard for him, but so far it's been working out okay. And I am perfectly fine with that if they're able to do it and do it right and do it well. So right now we're doing 2 lessons a day of language arts. We are on lesson 71 of level 3. I really like this new edition. This is a new edition, and I like the amount of writing in it. And I like that they don't require too much, but yet they do require enough. And I think it's a really good fit, especially for where my twins are at. Let me see if I can... Oh, one note. We were using the PDF on their iPads at the beginning of the school year, and they just kept clicking on things they weren't supposed to be clicking on, like games and downloading apps and YouTube and stuff like that. We would try deleting everything off. I don't know, we tried so many different things, and it was just a big distraction. Even with everything deleted, they play with the camera settings and drawing, take a picture of their face and draw on that, and it was just, if the iPad would be laying on the table, like if one son ran to the bathroom, my preschooler would come in and try to get the iPad and do stuff on it, and so it was just kind of a mess. So we decided just to put the iPads away, and we started printing the lessons off, and so what I do is I just put them on a clipboard here. So if we continue printing them, I may print a bunch and bind it. I don't know, we'll see. But for right now, we're just printing it and putting it in clipboard and it works. So this here is a writing example. They have fairly big lines and that's about how much writing they would require. And I think that's pretty good. Yeah, every day they request that they read, the boys spend 20 minutes reading. And so with our Sunlight readers, that actually works really good together because then they go and read that book. I also have a basket sitting on my counter here with books that are at their level, and so if they want, they also can pick out of that to read too. I really like the geography sections that they have in here. They have reading comprehension, so they're supposed to read it, and then they usually have questions they have to answer. And my one son, Zadok, who struggles a little bit more with reading, I have found that sometimes his comprehension level is pretty low when it comes to reading something and understanding it. So sometimes I'll sit with him and like have him read it, and any big words he comes to, I'll like, okay, stop, we're gonna sound this out, we're not just gonna skip it, because that's what his tendency. And if he can sound it out and figure out the word, he can understand it so much better. I also think it helps him to be reading it out loud, where he hears himself saying it, and to help him to understand. If he just reads it all quietly in his head and skips all the big words, he doesn't really know what he read when he gets done. Whereas my other twin, he can read it on his own quietly in his head and answer the questions. So they are different. But yeah, I like all the varied activities that the Good and Beautiful has. I like that it's colorful and bright. I am more of a creative, artsy person, and so if a curriculum doesn't like pull me in, draw me in, I don't want to do it. So if it was just all black and white, it's really hard for me to like want to even read that page. So I really appreciate the color and the creativity, and that it's not the same thing every single day. So we have, so we have 2 of these for the twins, and then it also comes with 4 of these readers. So we have read Timothy on the 10th Floor and The Kingdom of Kind. We didn't necessarily love Timothy on the 10th Floor. It has a really good message and really good things in it, which was fine. The boys did not complain about it any, but I would say that we enjoyed Kingdom of Kind more. They were excited to like read this one the next day and see what was gonna happen. This is a great story. And then we are just starting Heather and the Highland Pony. And I like that this one is about a dwarf, and it just introduces them to something different. They don't know a dwarf in real life. And so I think it's really good exposure for them, and it has really good messaging in here. One thing I love about these readers is that it has a page for the student to read. Like up here it says student, and then it has a page like for you as the teacher to read. And so I really like that. And at the beginning of each chapter, they have like practice page where they have different sounds or big words or vocab, and then they have the child practice reading it. And this is exactly what Zadok needs. Zeke does really good with it. It's good for him too, but Zadok, I would say, needs those pages. And then I bought the spelling books that come with it from The Good and Beautiful. This was something small that could fit in our suitcase when we were coming back from the States. So I do prefer to have the bought book from them versus doing a PDF and printing myself. But sometimes when you live overseas, you don't always have that option. So every other lesson has a spelling lesson, and the course book prompts you when to do it. And I like it has varied activities in here, and it's not always the same thing. And they even have an app on here that they have to go on sometimes and practice reviewing different words. So the boys always really enjoy that. Like I said, I have learned that I have to sit there with them and make sure they're actually doing what they're supposed to be doing, and then get off when they're supposed to be getting off. This has been really good too. They'll have them, you dictate a sentence to them and they have to write it, and then they have to check for like any random capital letters and make sure they got punctuation and start with a capital letter. And it's been really good because that's exactly what my twins struggle with, especially Zadok. He will have random capital letters mixed in his sentence, and then for both of them, they'll forget the punctuation at the end of a sentence. So yeah, it's just been really good and accurate for them. I also like how they have one set of spelling words for the whole unit. And like I mentioned earlier, I write them up here on my whiteboard, and they are practicing them every day, writing them up there. We are doing the Good and Beautiful math this year, grade 4. And this is the mental math. So this is like review. Each day you're supposed to do one little box. This is the side you show the children, and then this side has the same thing but just with the answers. So you would just ask them these questions and they're supposed to do it mentally in their math. I think it's really good practice. I will be honest, this book sits over on our bookshelf and I often forget about it. And so we'll maybe get to it once a week or so. So I'm going to start keeping it in my morning basket, and hopefully we will remember to do it more often. I do think it's important. It's a lot of like skip counting, adding, subtracting in their head, and like story problems, questions about months of the year, dates, years, stuff like that. I do think it is good. And then we were using math on the iPad with the PDF from The Good and the Beautiful, the free download, and then using the iPad pen to fill it out on there. And that did work good and we liked it. It saved a lot of money. Printing here in color is quite expensive and shipping is quite expensive. So neither one of those options are super good. However, the boys are getting really distracted using iPads. And so recently my husband is like, okay, it's causing enough fighting and stuff. Let's just go to printing it out for a while. So we are doing that currently. I don't know if we'll continue or not, we'll see. I do like having the paper though. I would probably prefer having an actual book because then you can look back at other lessons if you need to forget exactly how to do something. But anyway, they usually watch the video just on my phone, and I usually watch it with them so I kind of know what's going on. And then we would just work through the problems. So they can come and do the review section like before breakfast. If they're ready, they can go ahead and work on this section, and then we'll do the lesson part usually together later on in the day. So that is how we do math. And like I said earlier, we use the musical multiplication. They have some flashcards that they have to do. And at the end of the math course book, they have like a page that I printed out and I hung up here on our whiteboard. It's a reference guide, and so it just has like gallons and quarts and the names of different angles and a couple things like that. The steps to go through for long division, a couple things like that that we just reference. And so that's been handy to have that printed and laminated and hung on the wall in our room. And trying to think if there's anything else I should say about the math. Yeah, my twins are doing good with it. My one son, Zadok, who I said earlier struggles maybe just a little bit more with the language arts, he does really good with math. He gets math. He'll watch about half the video and be like, okay, Mom, I understand this. Do I have to keep watching it? And I tell him if he can do the problems and get the right answers, he does not have to keep watching the video, and usually he can. So that's great. One thing we have noticed though is occasionally, like for long division, when he is supposed to go through in the review section and do it himself, he'll suddenly forget how to do it. I think he does actually forget. So I'll have to sit with him and do a couple of the lessons or a couple of the problems with him, and then after that he's fine, he remembers again. But yeah, math comes pretty easy for him, and then language arts comes pretty easy for Zeke. So, and neither one is super bad at the other thing, they just have their strong points. All right, that is all I have for this video. I'm sorry it got quite long. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know down below in the comments, how is your mid-year homeschool going? Like I said, our homeschool year got started late, so we are behind maybe a little bit, but behind who? I mean, as long as we're learning and growing and getting our school in, I think that's what matters. Thank you guys for watching this video. Remember to hit the thumbs up button and subscribe and leave a comment down below, and we'll see you guys again soon. Bye.